Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to Recipe Redemption. I'm Mike Uyak. Today, from circa 1950, is this recipe for fish in sweet dark gravy. I never really think about gravy when I think about fish, precisely. Um, so this one's a little weird. And when we look at the recipe, it gets weirder. Um, so basically, I'm going to boil some raisins and prunes, about a half cup each, and that's really the only measurement in this entire recipe. So half cup raisins, half cup of prunes, just enough water to cover. Boil them until they're softened, um, along with some dried apples and peaches. And bit of a challenge to find dried peaches, actually. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it is. And that is what makes this recipe actually not that cheap, because dried apples and peaches are, especially on a per pound basis, surprisingly expensive, unless you're the type of person who dehydrates your own, in which case, more power to you. So you boil the fruit until they're softened, plop your fish in there, and it just says fish. Not what kind of fish, not how big or anything. It can be fresh, it can be frozen, it doesn't matter, just uncooked. You're cooking it in this braising liquid, we're going to say, fruity braising liquid, um, until it's tender. Then you remove it and you thicken the gravy with either ground up ginger snaps or flour. I wanted to give this the best chance possible of having some flavor, so I chose ginger snaps. Um, and then pour that over the fish. And that's pretty much it. And it says it can be served hot or cold, and is actually often better when it's allowed to set. Now, I don't know if when they say set, S-E-T, if they mean if it's allowed to sit around a while, as in set for a spell, or actually cool to the point where uh, it sort of thickens up and sets kind of like a gel. I don't know. Also says this can be frozen and reheated for later. I don't know if you really want to, but let's just find out. Now, this, I said it was circa 1950. I haven't been able to find the actual cookbook this comes from. I found this on the internet. Um, Based on digging around, I think this came from a promotional cookbook from Sunsweet from 1950, Recipes for Health and Happiness. Yay, prunes, happiness. Um, let's just try it. Okay, like the recipe says, starting off by boiling some prunes and raisins, half cup each, to which I'm adding some dried apples and dried peaches. Just going to simmer that until all the fruit is softened. And then I add my fish. I happen to have this cod fillet. That's what I had, so I'm using that. And we're basically going to braise the fish in this liquid. Once that's fully cooked, I remove it. And I'm adding some crushed up ginger snaps to thicken it into a gravy. And it doesn't take much. It actually boiled down quite a bit, so there's not a whole lot of liquid to thicken anyway. So it's probably really only about a couple of ginger snaps worth. And this does not look like gravy to me, so I took this opportunity to actually use my stick blender and blend it into a sauce, and then poured that over the fish. To quote the great David Byrne, "My God, what have I done?" I don't know what end of the baby this came out of, but either way, he's having a bad day. Presentation wise, this gets a 0. This is unappetizing. Aroma wise, I don't smell fish at all. The gravy is overpowering. I mean, it's fruity. It's just not appealing. I mean, a little bit of garnish, a little bit of color, something. Aesthetics, not great. I really don't want to eat this. Okay. Fish with sweet, dark gravy. That is almost indescribably bad. The textural contrast between this slightly gelatinous but mostly mushy sauce, I'm not going to call it a gravy, and the firm textured fish is really quite a clash. The fish itself, I mean, cod tends to be a little bland. So that little bit of fishy flavor that comes through in conjunction with the sweet fruit and ginger snap combination. It's weird because it is overly sweet and bland at the same time. That is really unpleasant. Oh.
No, don't like that.
We can do better with anything. Now, the concept. Woo! That is almost violently bad. The concept of sweet fish, fish with sweet, fruity flavors, is not unknown to us. In China, sweet and sour fish is a beloved dish. You bread a whole fish. Usually what they do is they like score it so you actually have these chunks that sort of stick out, and then you bread it, making sure to get the breading in between those chunks so that they have lots of craggly bits. Deep fry the living hell out of it, and then pair it with essentially the classic sweet and sour sauce, that sort of nuclear red sauce that I'm not even sure what flavor it's actually supposed to be, but it's sweet and it's sour. And fried fish from the Caribbean, fried fish with all sorts of different fruit salsas, things like that, are also really well known and really popular. I think for this application, we're going to go somewhere in between to see if we can redeem this. I'm going to start off my tropical salsa by sauteing some ginger and the white part or the thick part of a couple of scallions. And once those start to brown a little bit, I'm throwing in some fruit juice. I really wanted just passion fruit. I couldn't find straight passion fruit, so this is a mixture of orange, passion, pineapple, and guava, I think. Anyway, once that comes back up to a simmer, I let it go and sort of reduce down by, not quite by half, but maybe by a third. Oh, and adding some spices here. A little bit of salt, paprika, and actually a dash of curry powder. Once that's simmered for a bit, I'm throwing in my fruit. I have some crushed pineapple, diced mango,
the tops of those green onions. I have a Roma tomato here, and I'm just stirring that in. Oh, and I've shut the heat off. I'm just using the residual heat to sort of combine those. And I've chopped up a 1 habanero pepper, and I'm only adding half to start. And if it needs more heat, I can add more, but it's real hard to remove it later. Give that a good stir and then set that off to the side. In the meantime, I have another fillet of cod that I have seasoned with a little bit of garlic and onion powder and some Old Bay and a bit of salt and pepper. And now I'm just paneing with a little bit of flour, dip into egg, and then for whatever reason, when I dip this back into the flour, it wasn't actually on camera. So you get to see me put it into some hot oil. Always lay food away from you when adding to the oil, so if it splashes the other direction and not on you. And I want to keep this moving just a little bit to try and keep it from sticking to the bottom of the pan. So I'm just kind of moving stuff around and chipping off anything that did actually stick. Fry on both sides. It took me about 3 minutes to a side just to make sure that it's nice and crispy and cooked through. Then I set that off to the side while I made some rice. Place my fish on top of that. And then spoon on my tropical salsa. And I didn't show it on camera, but I actually julienned a little bit of those green onion tops and put them in a little bit of ice water to keep them nice and fresh. And that's going to be my garnish.
So that was fun. Try some of my fried fish. The breading and the extra, the seasoning that I put on the fish definitely does something just for the fish all by itself. And then this sort of tropical salsa that I put on top. It's just a little bit of sweetness, not overly sweet. I think half the habanero was the right choice. It's just enough of just a little bit of a zing without being too kicky. I don't really want it to kick my ass. So nice bit of starch with the rice. This is actually a very well balanced dish. I like the interplay of flavors. A little bit sweet, a little bit savory, a little bit spicy, a little bit starchy. It's a little bit of everything. I like it. What do you think? What else could we have done to redeem the fish in sweet, dark gravy? Other than not make it at all. Really, honestly, any direction that you take it is better than what we ended up with. So let me know in the comments below what you thought, and if you have any other recipes you'd like me to try. As always, do all the internet things, like, subscribe, comment, all helps me out. And I'd like to thank you for watching. I'll see you next time here on Recipe Redemption.